Everyone, welcome back to HR Secrets. If you're new to this series, welcome. We're glad you can join us. My name is Viet and I'm here with Ashley, and we're your hosts for Season 2, Episode 3. HR Secrets is the HRC podcast series where we look into the different trends and aspects of HR to provide students with more knowledge on the HR industry.
Yeah, for this episode, we're taking a different route and exploring the path toward a career in HR. And make sure you stay till the end for an exciting sneak peek of Spring Soiree X Envision coming to you this month.
Okay, so today we're pleased to have Katie Stargardner, Director of People and Culture at Eco Justice Canada, here to join us in discussing this topic. Hi, Katie. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good,
Very
thanks.
Good.
Awesome. Now, before we get into things, Katie, could you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a bit about your journey in the HR industry?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to. I'm, as you know, Katie Stargardner. I work in the charity sector for an environmental law charity as the Director of Human Resources. And it certainly didn't always start out that way. In fact, my journey was not a unique one, but it wasn't a planned one. So the journey for me was always psychology. I thought I was going to be a psychologist. And in grade 11, 12, I was set that I was Katie the psychologist and went to university. I studied my undergrad in psychology and was very enthusiastic about it. I did a 4-year undergrad with the intention of going to graduate school. And before I did that, I took a year off before grad school and started working full-time at a manufacturing company. And in that company, I started as a receptionist as I was studying for grad school. And I started getting bored. So I started asking other people for things to do, asking others for help, writing manuals. And I found myself within the first 3 months being promoted in that organization. And I made my way somehow into the finance department, and I was in an accounts payable role. In that role, I got an email from the president, an all staff email that said that performance evaluations were going to be canceled that year because the organization did not have the ability to offer profit sharing to its employees. So there was no financial component tied to the performance evaluation. And I, being in my very early 20s and brave, sent an email back to the president of the organization and outlined all the reasons why I thought performance reviews were still important to do and the feedback was important to receive, irregardless of the fact that there was no monetary component. So soon after, the day after, the president came to my desk and said, you know, I got an A+ in organizational psychology. And I said, I did too. And he said, you know, I think you should be in human resources. So a couple of months later, I was promoted into a combined payroll HR role and did go back to school at the same time, but instead pivoted to HR management instead of psychology. And I've been in HR ever since. So it's really because of one leader and one email that I'm in human resources.
I think we talked about this last time. We know that there are various different functional areas of HR, whether it be talent management, like such as you're in right now, recruitment, to compensation, training, and development. How can one go about navigating these HR paths?
Yeah, I think the key is to take as many different subject matters within your academic studies and to really be attuned to what you're interested in. So what are those courses that made you really excited? None of us love studying, but what did you like studying more so than maybe some of the other subjects? You'll notice where your passion lies. So academically diversify what courses that you can take and really pay attention to what motivates you, what makes you passionate. So you can start even in an academic setting before you start working in the HR profession. You can start to learn about those different journeys that you can take, whether it's compensation planning or training development or talent acquisition. And if you're not sure, it's okay. You can always start and take the path as a generalist. And during that path, you can wear as many hats as you can and learn as much as you can. And throughout that working journey, just pay attention to, again, what excites you, what motivates you, what are those areas of human resources that make you excited, and what are those areas, you know, for me, it's payroll. I could do without payroll, it's fine, but I cannot do without training and development. So I think the key in navigating those different paths is to never lose sight of what your heart is telling you, what your instinct is telling you, and what your passion is, because you can always change your plan, but you'll tend to be best at the things that you're most passionate about.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I know you just mentioned this, but also during our coffee chat, you mentioned the importance of distinguishing the differences between being an HR generalist as opposed to an HR specialist. And so could you provide our audience with a brief overview of the two categories and what influenced you into not choosing to specialize?
Right. Yeah, I'd love to. I think the major difference between an area of specialization and a generalist role is in an HR generalist role, you have the opportunity to be exposed to many different HR functions at the same time in the same role. So you might be doing recruitment one day and then training and development, employee relations, compensation, health and safety, and your role really shifts between various different HR functions. The number of functions that you're responsible for and the scope is going to depend on the role in the organization. But an area of specialization is you really hone in on a specific area of human resources. So you might decide, I love recruitment. I want to only do recruitment. And your job may be just recruitment. So that would be sourcing candidates, selecting candidates, doing the onboarding process. And you wouldn't necessarily be doing employee relations or compensation planning, but the breadth of your work within a specific specialization would be quite broad. So you would learn a lot about that area of specialization. And whether you choose to specialize or to be an HR generalist really just depends on your own individual needs and what you're looking for in a specific profession. And the only way to navigate this is to just to learn what you like and what you don't like. And to be patient with yourself that you can change your mind. I think, we always kind of start off, especially in my journey, I thought I'd be working for very large organizations and have that upward movement and, all of those things. But what I learned is that I loved being in a generalist role where my days were so diverse and I was able to learn, absorb very different aspects of the HR function and to become kind of a well-rounded HR professional. And so you might decide to start your journey, as many do, as most do, in generalist like capacities, find something you love, and then choose to pivot into a specialization. Or you might choose the reverse. So you don't need to make your mind up just yet. And even if you make up your mind, you can change it. But the key is to really understand in terms of what leads to your greatest level of motivation. Is it learning lots about different things, or is it learning extensively about one thing? And so those are the key differences between a generalist versus a specialization
To do
role.
the networking and
Um,
communication part of it. And so, yeah, networking and communication are essential parts of HR. And I mean,
yeah.
getting onto that path, and they're really important skills to have when considering a career in the industry. And so, what can students do to expand their network and improve their communication skills?
Yeah, isn't that something? And I feel like that's another thing that never quite ends. I'm still learning to be a networker and to be an effective communicator. So it's a lifelong journey. I think something that can be very helpful is to become a member of the CPHR BC Association. And there's so many opportunities to network, to learn, and to grow as being a part of that network of HR professionals. And there's very discounted student rates to be part of that CPHR network. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. Another thing that you can do within CPHR BC is to sign up to be a mentee and to be partnered with an HR professional who really takes you under their wing and guides you and gives you mentorship on the next steps in your career. So 100% recommend doing that. And just as both of you did, reach out on LinkedIn and network on LinkedIn. There's endless opportunities to connect on LinkedIn, and you might get some great bites in terms of the people that respond and the conversations that you can have. So that would be another way to start networking is through LinkedIn. And in terms of the communication piece, the best advice I can give you is to practice, practice, practice. And even now in your relationships with your friends or your family or coworkers, strangers, just practice communicating in various different ways at various different levels and find a method of communication that feels comfortable for you. Stay true to your authentic self. You can learn ways to be really tactful and professional, but always stay true to your authentic self. I think that's important to do as you grow in your profession. And another thing, it's what's tricky about the profession of human resources is we have to have really difficult conversations, and sometimes those conversations are emotional, and sometimes those conversations are heated, and so we have to deal, whether it's a manager or an employee, we have to deal with these variety of reactions and emotions and disagreement. So in terms of communication and what you can learn, that aspect of practicing resilience in your communication and having.
And now, before we end off, how can our listeners and viewers contact you if they would like to reach out?
Yeah, you can definitely send me a message on LinkedIn. Hopefully my last name is somewhere for you to see. It's very difficult to spell, but an easy way to find me is if you go to my workplace, which is Eco Justice. I'm on the landing page in their employee with a list of all of their employees. So you can find me there. My last name, maybe I'll spell it really quickly, is Stargardter, Katie Stargardter. So send me a message on LinkedIn or connect with me through EcoJustice. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, there you have it. This wraps up season 2, episode 3 of HR Secrets. Katie, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your insights into following the HR path. And we really appreciate and enjoy having you on the podcast.
Thank you both. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Awesome. You too.
To our audience, thanks so much for sticking around. We hope this episode provided you with some valuable insights and guidance that you can use on your own journeys. Now here's a sneak peek at SSXC 2022 from our very own events team.
Hi everyone, we're the organizing committee for Spring Story Exhibition 2022.
Our event this year will be held virtually, and we have designed a custom online space on GatherTown that closely matches your vision as if the event is in person.
Each attendee will also receive custom SSXC swag, which includes but is not limited to stickers, acrylic pins, and tote bags.
Be sure to purchase your raffle tickets if you haven't yet.
All proceeds from raffle tickets will be donated to Variety, the children's charity.
There are multiple prize bundles to be won, each over $250.
At Spring Soiree, you can expect to network with professionals from Lululemon, Amazon, Deloitte, KPMG, and more.
Our keynote and panelists will be revealed in the next couple of days, so look out for their on our social media.
Our case sponsor for Envision is Talent Marketplace.
So sign up individually or with your friends and compete to win amazing prizes valued at over $300 each.
We will be boothing on the following days, so come visit us at the Convocation Mall.
Looking forward to seeing you at Spring Story X Envision 2022.
Awesome. Thank you to the events team for that announcement. If you haven't already, make sure to purchase your SSXC tickets and note March 19th and 26th on your calendars. Again, we'll be boothing from March 8th to 10th in the Convocation Mall, so make sure you stop by.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us on our social media to be the first ones to know when our next podcast episode drops. And keep an eye out for Volume 2, Issue 4 of HR Times, which will be released at the end of this month.
We also want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, SFU BD School of Business, SFSS, CPHR, Tarmac People Solutions Inc., AGL Glazing Inc., BD, and BMO SFU Student MasterCard Partnership.
And as well as Close Capital Savings, CBRE Group, Swim Recruiting, Exalt HR Consulting, Van City, and Clear HR Consulting Inc. Without their support, our events and initiative cannot be hosted successfully. Please visit our website if you're interested in learning more about them. Thank you.